Ephesians chapter 2, verses 19 through 22. If you don't have a Bible, we'll get you one. Just let us know, and we have plenty. We'll get you one. Or you can also, on your phone, there's a little app called YouVersion, which is amazing. You can download that, and that provides you with every version of the Bible there ever was, and it's really awesome, and it's easy to find things, and so you can always download that as well. Also, we have it on the screen here, so you can just check that out if you'd like. So Ephesians chapter 2, verses 19 through 22. We're reading from the Message version. And it says, that's plain enough, isn't it? You are no longer wandering exiles. This kingdom of faith is now your home. You are now citizens. You are no longer strangers or outsiders. You belong here, with as much right to the name as Christian as anyone. God is building a home. He is using us all, no matter how we got here, and what he's building. He used the apostles and prophets as a foundation, and now he is using you, fitting you in, brick by brick, stone by stone, with Jesus as the cornerstone that holds all of the parts together. We see it taking shape day after day, a holy temple built by God, all of us built into it, a temple in which God is quite at home. We're going to pray, and then we're going to dive in. God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for your word. Thank you for this church. God, I pray that you just use me this morning, that you just speak through me and work in the hearts of everyone that is in here this morning. I pray that everyone hears what they came here to hear today. I know that you have something for them, and I pray that that is communicated well and received even better. God, we love you so much. It is in your name that we pray. Amen. So like I said, we're in week 3 of this series called Build This House. If you haven't been here, or if you have, you still might be confused. What house are we building? We are talking about this church. When we say build this house, we're talking about building this church. And this church is something that we all love, that we come to every week. And we want it to grow. We want it to be sustainable. We want it to be a place where more people can come through the doors and experience the love of God. Because this is the home that God is building. It says in that verse that God is building a home and that he's using us all. No matter how we got here, he's using us to build this house. So if we want this church to be a home that people can come to and that it can be sustainable and all of these things, we each need to know our part. We need to know what he's using us for. We all kind of just need to know what we came here to do. So week 1, we talked about love. That love is the foundation of this house. Everything in this house is built on love. Everything in this church, everything that Agape does is built on love. And even as Christians, Monday through Saturday, everything that we do needs to be built on love. It's not just about what we're doing here Sunday morning. It's every day of every week. What we're doing has got to be built on love because God is love. And if we're going to represent God well, then we need to be love. And then week 2, we talked about serving. We said that this house is built on a servant's heart. Serving is an act of love. And serving is the structure of this church and of every church. So if we want to build a church that's going to last, then we have to serve. Because that's what Jesus did. That's how he did it, and that's what we're doing. So we have to come to church to serve, not to be served. This week, we're going to be talking about generosity. Okay, love is the foundation of this church. If we're building a strong church, we need to build it on love. If we're going to build a church that's going to last, then we need to serve. If we want to build a church at all, then we have to be generous. In Acts, if you grab your Bible again, this is Acts chapter 2, verses 44 through 47. This is the whole book of Acts is kind of about like the first church that ever existed. And they had a lot of things going right for them. It says, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. A deep sense of awe came over all of them. And the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. And all the believers met together in one place, and they shared everything they had. They sold their property and their possessions, and they shared the money with those in need. They worshiped together at the temple each day. They met in homes for the Lord's Supper and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. Can you guys imagine if our church looked like that today? If we could actually come together and we can share everything that we have. If we can come together and actually enjoy the goodwill of all the people, and we got together in each other's homes and we just shared meals and we were generous with each other, that would be an amazing thing. And for the most part, our church has it right. It's an amazing thing because, a couple weeks ago we were talking about building a table for our new house. Chris and I are actually building a literal house right now as well. It's just about done, but we were building a table for our house. And we're talking about it here at church, and he's, talking about, we had to rent this tool at Home Depot to do it. And somebody else is like, you don't need to rent a tool. Use mine. Come over and use mine. That's amazing. When we have crew each week in our house, we meet every Wednesday night, and everybody's welcome to that. Everybody in here is invited. Every single Wednesday we have a meal together with some of our people on Wednesday nights. And for the longest time, Chris and I were doing it. And then one of the families said, you don't have to do it every single weekend or every single Wednesday. We'll do it at our house. We'll feed people too. And that's an amazing thing, and that's a generous thing to do. Just invite the people to your house. And that caught on, and then other people said, I'll have it at my house too. And we alternate every week, and everyone is generous, and everyone's willing to feed each other, and everyone's willing to show up and do their part, and share their stuff and share their homes and share the most vulnerable parts of their lives. And it's an amazing thing, and we're already so good at it here at Agape, I believe, which is amazing, because generosity does not come naturally. That's my first point today. Generosity is not natural. And if you don't believe me, I mean, hang around with a couple of kids for 5 minutes. If anybody in here has kids or has been around them, you know that it does not come natural. That's something you have to teach them. Everything is mine. That's mine. Don't touch it. This is mine. Don't come in my room. That's my room. That's my thing. I'm watching TV. Don't touch the remote. That's my, all the things are mine, and what I want to do, and I'm going to do it now, and you're not going to get in my way, and it's all mine. Don't touch it. Don't do it. Our kids have recently, really become possessive over the remote control of the TV. They will, be watching something, and then they are going to go to the bathroom, and they take it with them in the bathroom just to make sure that nobody else gets to watch anything else other than what is on. And it's crazy. But it's kind of just something that has to be taught, and it's something that is not ever really going to be fully mastered, I don't think, either. I consider Chris and I to be pretty selfish people. That's true too. Pretty generous people. Both. We have a rule, if we're going to spend a certain amount of money, we need to talk to each other about it first. But part of that rule is that if it comes to generosity, if somebody is in need and they need above and beyond whatever that number is, we don't have to come to each other first. Just give it to them. Just give it away. It's fine. We'll find more somewhere else later. However, it's still I have lied to my kids before and told them that my food was spicy because I didn't want them to take a bite, right? We all have it. The selfishness runs deep, okay? So it's something that you have to really work on and try to be intentional about. It's not something that you're going to ever master. It's not something that's going to penetrate every area of your life unless you're really, really, really trying really hard. And it comes down to us just having these emotional attachments. We all have this emotional attachment to money and to our stuff and all of those things because it reflects our time and our energy that we put toward making. I worked for that. I earned it. I deserve it. That is mine. Earn your own. You can do it too. Get a job, But being selfish or self-focused, that's the natural thing. Generosity has to be an intentional, conscious decision or habit. Because if you go off of your emotions, you're going to have that emotional attachment to that. You're going to want to hold on to everything you worked for, even though it's not really yours. We've all been given these blessings and gifts in order that we can share them. There's a verse in Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah, that says, generous people plan to do what is generous, and they stand firm in their generosity. And I remember when I first started coming to church as an adult, I didn't grow up going to church always. So I didn't really know what tithing was or any of those things. I knew that sometimes people put money in the trays when they were passing. But I didn't know all that. And then I went to church as an adult, and they were speaking about this. And the pastor was talking about tithing and online giving, because he was talking about, maybe you'll miss a Sunday because you're on vacation, or you had a baseball game, whatever you did, that you're not here that week. So we offer online giving for these things, which is an amazing thing. He's like, you can give every single week and you don't have to worry about it. Because to me, when I was first going and I learned about tithing, which tithing, if you don't know, it's giving the first 10% of everything that you make back to God, back to the church. And I didn't know that was a thing. And as soon as I knew it was a thing, I started doing it, and I never looked back. I thought it was amazing. But every now and then I'd miss a Sunday. And secretly, in my head, I was thinking, oh, sweet, that's like another however much money in my pocket. Like, I didn't have to give this week. And then when I went to church that weekend and our pastor was telling us, oh, well, if you do miss a week, it's all good. We have online giving, so you don't have to worry about that. And so to me, I was like, oh, okay, fine. So I set up the online giving, and I've never had to look back or think about it again. And when I say that it's not something we'll ever master, it's something that you'll continually grow in, because for a while, it was still like that. Like, I made the decision and I stood firm in it that I was going to be this generous person, but still at the end of the year when I'd get that statement, I would sometimes be like, man, I could have went on a really cool vacation. Oh, I could have bought a car. I could have, done some things with this money. But the reality is that what I did with that money and giving it back to that church and doing the things, that made an eternal impact on people's lives that is so much further and better served than anything else I could have ever done with that money in my life. Who cares about a vacation? Who cares about buying whatever? Turns out, our 2005 whatever car Expedition we have, it's fine. It gets us where we need to go. We don't need all the other things in it when we can be giving. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to lie. Chris and I would love to have a Tesla or something, but the reality is that we're going to give first. And then we're going to save our money, and we're going to buy those things that we want to buy and have fun in our lives. But we're going to give first. That's going to be the first thing that we do in our lives. And that will bring so much more contentment. We've got the new car before. That didn't bring us any contentment. We've gone on the vacation before, and it was fun, and it's great, and we create memories, and we love that, and we still will go. But it doesn't bring contentment in your life. Being generous will bring you so much more contentment, and changing lives for all of eternity and all of those things is so much better than anything that you could buy or do for yourself. You don't have to have a lot to be generous. Being generous has nothing to do with having a lot. Being generous is a posture of your heart. There's something inside that will switch eventually. From being that selfish little kid, from being, the one that's thinking of all the other things you could be doing with your money. There's something in there that will switch eventually. And you'll become that person who is excited about, I have this job, and I can make more money, and I can do more because I can do more things. And I can impact more people. And I can add value to somebody else's life. In Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, Jesus tells a story. He says, while Jesus was in the temple, he watched the rich people dropping their gifts in the collection box. He was watching all the rich people dropping the gifts in the collection box. Then a poor widow came by, and she dropped in 2 small coins. And Jesus said, I tell you the truth, this poor widow has given more than all of the rest of them. She gave more than all the rest of the rich people, not because she gave a higher dollar amount, but he says that they have given a tiny part of their surplus. But she, as poor as she is, has given everything that she has. You don't have to have a lot to be generous. You don't have to give a lot to be generous. We all have the ability to add value to someone else's life. We all do. It doesn't require you to have a bunch of money or a bunch of things. She had almost nothing, and she was more generous than all the rich people in the room. It's about the posture of your heart. It's about having the desire to give whatever you can to make an impact on other people's lives because you want to and because it's a priority to you, because you made the decision and you're going to stand firm in it. And we can be generous with so many things. This isn't just a thing about money. This is about being generous with your time, your money, your home, your wisdom. There are people who are successful in life. They've done a lot of great things, and they don't share any part of that success with anyone. If you are successful in any area of your life, share that success with somebody. Tell everybody what you did to get there. Get on social media or whatever you're going to do. It's not bragging. It's not anything else. This is what I've done, and it's worked, guys. Like, let me share it with you. Let me tell you how to get where I'm going, because it's good here. We have these really good friends. Amy and Jordan are their names, and they just started a podcast recently. It's a great podcast, by the way, and it's just about personal growth and life and all those things. And Amy and Jordan, they're super generous people anyway, in all areas of their life. But one of the things they say on their podcast was that everybody has the ability to make more money, but we all have the same amount of time. We all have 24 hours in a day. And to them, they're very they're very busy with their business and their life and their kid and all the things. And to them, time is the most precious, most valuable thing. And so they started this podcast recently, and I was talking to them last week, and they were talking about how hard it is. And I was just asking questions like, what is the hardest part about this? What is hard about making this podcast and these things? And he was like, it's just the time, like it's taking us like 4 hours to outline our thing and an hour to record it. And then we have to set up and tear it down. And so it's taking an entire workday to record one of these 1 hour sessions. And we always talk about your 5 friends is your, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you your future. So they're hanging out with other people who are also successful, who also have all these things in play, and they're doing really good things in their life. And so to them, they're thinking, man, like, is this even worth it? Is this worth our time? Is anybody going to get anything out of this? Surely all these people already know what we're talking about. They know how to manage their calendars. They know how to do this and that, whatever it is. But then they start getting these notes from people. And one of the notes they got was from this woman, because they did a whole episode on how to prioritize your calendar, how to spend your time well, how to do the things that matter to you, and how to implement those things in your calendar. And this woman calls or sends a note and says, I have stage 4 cancer, and thank you so much for this podcast that you put out, because of the tools that you gave me and because of this thing that you said, just about a schedule. It's about a calendar, guys. Like, I can now feel like I can get the most out of the time that I have left here. I can now feel like I can prioritize my calendar and I'm going to get the most out of this life because I only have a little bit of time left. That's an amazing thing, because they were generous with their time. They're taking a full business day that they could be doing something else that's actually creating revenue for them, and they spent that time doing this podcast that they weren't even sure if they were making an impact with. And this woman's life was changed because of their generosity. You don't have to have a lot to be generous. You just have to have the desire to want to change something in somebody else's life. You have to have the desire to share what you do have. Our God that we serve, he's a generous God. He gave us the breath that we're breathing today. He gives us his spirit. And along with that spirit, he gives us joy, love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control. He gives us the ability of all these things. In the book of Luke, it says, if you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will give you what you ask for when it's in line with his will. And it's not just these big things. I mean, this morning, for example, he put a song on Cassie's heart that she switched that song yesterday, by the way, having no idea. He put a song on Cassie's heart so that this morning he might bring comfort to a grieving widow. He's generous in all ways, in all small things, in all of everything that he does. He's generous and he's thinking of you constantly. He's not a selfish God, and he's not self-centered. He is always looking out for us. He's looking at you and he's loving you, and he is constantly serving you. He gave us his one and only Son so that we can be saved, so that we can spend a life in eternity. I have one son, and I love you guys, but I would not give him up for you. I would not trade him for anything in the world, and God did that for us. He did that for us so that we can spend a life in eternity. He is a generous God. Our house, this house, needs to be built on love. It needs to be built with a servant heart, and it is built with generosity. How can you be generous this week? How are you treating people Monday through Saturday? How are you looking outside of yourself? If we're trying to build this house brick by brick, stone by stone, like it said in the scripture, what is your stone that you're putting on there this week? What are you adding to the pile? Because without you, it's nothing. Without what you have to give, we're missing pieces. It's an eternal investment. Do the people that you interact with, do they think of you as a generous person? Do you share your stuff? It's one of those simple elementary school lessons of just share your stuff. Be nice, you know? Let's be a church who represents God well. People should want to go where you're going. They should want to follow. Being generous is a posture of your heart, and it will change your life more than it'll change the person who's receiving it on the other end. It'll fix so many things on the inside. It will bring you so much contentment, so much peace. You'll never regret a thing that you gave away for somebody else. It's always a good thing. It's always a powerful thing. It's always going to be the thing that draws people near. If you guys would pray with me.